Oh no, boys and girls. Weather report for Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. And here's David. Now, David, I invited Rebecca. I just want to warn you. Now, you be nice.
Okay. I'm always nice to her.
You're always nice.
If she's mean to me, I'm going to be mean back, though. Do I have the right to be mean back if she's mean to me?
If she's mean to you, you can be a little bit mean back, but only half as mean as she. Only half as mean.
Only half. Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. I think 55%. I can do 55. All right. Yeah.
What's with your icon? It looks blurrier than normal.
Yeah, it does.
He's got his eyes crossed.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm on an old computer. I still haven't bought a new computer yet, so.
It looks like a picture in an older kind of telescope would take. That's cool.
Yeah, it does look blurry.
I
I think mine. I think I'm seeing it blurry too, but it's not blurry on the other part of the. There's another picture of it. You know how you have it in the StreamYard. There's another picture of it, and that doesn't look blurry. But this one, the one on the screen, does. Yeah.
You see, I don't even notice the blur because if I don't have my reading glasses on, everything's going to be blurry anyway.
Yeah, I don't have glasses on either, and it's blurry anyway. But yeah. Okay. So what's going on today? Anything exciting?
Well, we were having a little conversation about lines and signs and viruses and fuzz rana and things like that.
Or just get out of the way and to what's the word? You know what I'm talking about. Dr. Dan is having a stream tonight, everyone, about SFT's new book, Dismantling ERV Evidence for Evolution. So everyone should go check that out tonight.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll probably have to watch it on a rewatch, but yeah.
Yeah, and I was sitting out in the yard with a copy of that book the other day, and that's when I found the Fosrana stuff. I just spotted through it. It really is a difficult read because it's mostly him cherry picking a quote and then him talking his opinion about it.
You talking about Donny?
Donny, yeah.
That's what his book is.
If there's anybody who is going to write a handbook about dismantling ERVs or whatever, I would not turn to Donny.
Yeah, you wouldn't think. Yeah,
he's not the source you're looking for.
Now, can I ask, Pete, did you purchase the book, or did he send you a honorary copy of it? Or
I purchased it, and he sent me. Well, I can't talk about that. I purchased the book because I'm bringing his kids through college because I'm hoping that his kids will realize how
get an education. Yeah, will actually get an education. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a good way to go about it.
It is.
Can I ask how much is his book?
About $14, something like
14.
that. Probably with shipping. It wasn't a hell of a lot.
What? Yeah, wasn't it some of his other books like $5 or something? Do I remember somebody saying that?
So. Some were pretty inexpensive. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's written a few, right? He's several.
Yeah,
right?
I do not think he's doing it because he makes money on them.
So. Yeah, right. It's just a little propaganda, you think, maybe?
Not entirely.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I don't know if he goes to like churches and places like that to speak, but that's certainly something to stack up on your table and sell. I don't know.
I put the link for Dr. Dan's first takedown. I guess he's not calling it part one. So I think he's probably going to do the entire book in one shot because there isn't much there.
Yeah, maybe the book isn't just that complex or that deep. I
It's
guess
the
we'll see.
Yeah, it is pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
reading,
everyone should go check that out to learn more about ERVs.
reading the comment of Benghazi there, writing that Veckel thinks that a flower, therefore God. I saw that was one of Tom Rabbit's videos that just came out.
Oh yeah,
That was
Wait,
funny.
what?
yeah.
Tom Rabbit just had a video come out. He had like a little mini debate with Veckel, and it was pretty funny. Veckel, and he's, you know how Darth Dawkins
A flower,
asked,
therefore God. What?
yeah, that was his justification for God, basically. Yeah.
Is he like saying a flower is beautiful, therefore God? I don't
yeah,
understand
yeah.
any of that.
Yeah,
Well, some people believe beauty itself is an argument for God.
right.
Yeah.
It was basically a look at the trees argument, but he used the flower analogy.
It's pretty interesting to watch how flowers evolved from leaves and petals, and how few changes had to be made in order to come up with that flower structure. It wasn't a whole lot of genetic modification to get from a leaf to a flower because of the way things form, and then to get to really complicated flowers, it was sort of that mathematical oddity where if you have a couple simple rules, you'll end up with all these whorls and the golden ratio and all these different complex mathematical things, and it's pretty cool. And
kind
we
of
know
like a nautilus shell.
I think that's the reason creationists don't go after plants is because it's so easy to show evolution in plants, and it's so difficult in animals because we have I don't know why animals seem to go along branches, and there's a lot of extinction with animals, whereas plants have a lot of intermediate steps. I don't know.
Well, also we are pretty animal centric.
Yeah.
I caught a little bit of praises. One of his videos. I only caught like 2 minutes of it. I think, I don't know, I turned it on and I didn't even listen to it. And he happened to, with the little bit that I listened to, he happened to use that. Oh, we're related to strawberries. Go ahead and defend that. What's his name? What's the kid's name? That's the bad alcoholic that your buddy's with.
Wildheart.
Wildheart. Yeah, he says, go ahead and defend. I think Wildheart was in there. And he said, go ahead and defend that Wildheart. We're related to strawberries. Go. He goes. I don't know what the conversation was. I didn't listen any more of it. But
yep, that kind of conversation would take about an hour because that's the kind of depth you need to go into.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying, "Oh, we're related to strawberries," how absurd that must seem. Like that's not an argument. That's not, or it's not a logical, rational argument for anything. Yeah. It's just saying, it's absurd. So why should I accept it? Which, well, I guess in some sense,
it's a play on common meaning. Like if somebody asked me if I was related to you, Andrew, I'd say no. Right. Because
right.
You're not my cousin. You're not my nephew.
Right.
Okay.
And so it's a play on that idea that we have about the word related. When somebody says, "Are you related to somebody?" You mean your brother, your aunts, your cousins, whatever. You mean that you're really closely related. And so they play on that and they say, "Oh, strawberries," so that you automatically what's going on in your mind is you're taking your cousin and replacing it with a strawberry. And
okay.
But
it's just ridiculous, and it's another dirty trick that people use when they think.
What's Kent Hovind's? Kent Hovind's is you're related to mosquitoes or something. He always yeah. Isn't that one of his? Yeah, elephants.
Will a pine tree ever give birth to a non-pine tree?
I think SFT uses bananas, and that's one of his.
Yeah. It's usually bananas or strawberries.
Yeah.
He should certainly have a snack before he gets on the camera.
Indeed.
So
what you got up here, speed?
Yeah, somebody, God, who gave me this paper?
Ooh, zebrafish.
I got this paper on a Reddit post that I was looking at. Somebody was asking about, have you ever seen a limb develop? That sort of thing. And apparently these people did.
Yeah.
So it was in the laboratory, and they managed to create some kind of a mutation. And it was basically the steps to the development of a limb. And it was kind of interesting. And then somebody came back and said, well, they're going to say they did it in a laboratory, so it's not valid, right? Because I think they actually, changes in appendage structure underlying key transitions in vertebrate evolution. Addition of skeletal elements along the proximal distal axis. That means from your shoulder to the tips of your fingers. Basically, very small changes rearrange that whole structure of a limb. And when you look at a fin, there's all the little pieces are there, the little centers and your humerus, all of that is there. And it takes not that many mutations in order to develop that limb. And these guys, anyway, I have not read this paper. I didn't have time, but I thought it would be worth. I'm gonna just put the name and the authors in there, and people can look it up. So I'll put it.
So funny to me how, well, for one thing, creationists always when they're going about this mutation argument, basically they're talking about mutations in and of themselves without natural selection or drift or anything. But another big issue is they have this misconstrued idea of what modern evolutionary theory says, because there was once a time a sort of alternative to Darwinian selection, if you will, that usually goes by the name saltationism or mutation theory or something along those lines, where basically they did argue that new species with new traits come about by large mutations, basically, instead of Darwin's gradual step-like change. Basically, this was saltational. It was immediate leaps in evolution, basically, which sometimes can happen, but not in the way they used to think. So it's just interesting to me how creationists have that kind of idea of what we think evolution works, or how we think evolution works, when that's not how we think evolution works nowadays.
And the thing is that when they think about this, they first have to know how a limb develops in an embryo in order to start thinking about how it might have evolved, right? They think that there is some kind of a blueprint in the genome that tells you, oh, we're going to put a line here, and that's going to be your humerus, and this is going to be your tibia. I mean, they think there's like instructions in the genome for creating each of these things. So they don't understand
like a literal blueprint.
Right, like a little blueprint, like a little tiny homunculus or a little man in there. And so they've got their thinking all wrong, and they think, well, how could that have developed? Because they think that entire blueprint had to develop like in toto, completely. And when you look at
what you were getting off on, that studying it from an embryological perspective might be beneficial.
That's the way to approach evolution, because then you can see how easy it is to develop a limb, to develop a tetrapod limb from a fish, from a fin. And you can see it basically very clearly, and that's what they don't want to do. So they're always making these extreme leaps, in conceptual leaps, right? And they play on your common idea of how something is developed. And everybody sort of still has this common idea that there's like this blueprint pattern in your genes that tells how a body's built. This is not what's going on, people. You got to learn. If you want to attack evolution, you have to fucking learn evolution.
Right.
All of it.
Wake up, sheeple.
Wake up, people.
Well, it should be obvious. Like, if you want to debunk another person's position, you should try to learn what they're actually saying for their position.
and not only learn it, but you have to try to adopt it and think that way, right?
Right.
So, and I mean, I
Please
do that.
don't make me do that.
Well, I
Adopt
do
the
that
way
all-
they think. Are you crazy?
I do it all the time. It's like, okay, let's adopt how God made limbs. God did it. That's it. It's not that hard.
Yeah, it's not that complicated,
It's just
especially with like common design too, or fine tuning or whatnot.
well, it's just
It's
4
really
letters.
simple.
Poof. Poof. Poof.
Yeah,
3
there
letters,
you go.
actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, poof is pretty fucking easy to conceptualize. What is it?
I
easy?
feel like Jerry is trying to make a joke there, but I think the joke is ruined because I have no idea what Fargo is. Can someone explain that to
Oh
me?
my God, you don't know what Fargo is. Okay.
First of all, do you know where Fargo is?
Okay, he's insulting you. He's insulting something. I'm not sure what.
Oh. Well, how can I be insulted
were
if I don't know what
insulting
the
you,
insult
must-
is about?
Okay,
The
no,
insult was how
I'm
do you pronounce Benghazi? Brought it up. You have to go back a few. Benghazi, because you pronounce
Oh,
other.
my pronunciation? Yeah, I have terrible pronunciation.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
So
pronounce
Fargo
other instead of
Fargo was a
another.
movie that the Coen brothers did. The Coen brothers are from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And they decided to play a joke on all Minnesotans by creating a movie called Fargo, where they took people from actually Fargo, North Dakota. They took their accent because they actually fucking talk that way up there. And they tried to make it look like everybody in Minneapolis talked like they do in Fargo, right? And so it was a wonderful movie. The Coen brothers are geniuses, but they have not been invited back to Minnesota since they did that movie because, we're going to kill them.
Yeah. Well, sorry,
I mean-
Jerry. Your joke is now ruined.
Yeah, your joke is
Or
ruined.
your insult or whatever it is you were trying to do is now ruined.
Here we go. And there was also a wood chipper. And if you haven't watched Fargo, the movie or the series, you got to watch.
Yeah, the series.
Wood chipper.
Each
Okay,
season's a
I
different
think that
storyline.
rings some bells. I'm not sure though.
But yeah, watch the movie. It's got William H. Macy in it.
Yeah, the movie. And that's where Macy kind of got big, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where you started.
I like Nidemos. Little jab of a comment there. That's pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah, about it. SFT. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's referring to SFT as.
I'm not suggesting naming names here, but
Anyway,
names.
well, that ties in because Macy was a car salesman in that movie, Fargo. So
Amazing.
Very apt.
Well, I guess being a little nitpicky here, jabbing back at Nidemos, you spelled hierarchy wrong. Sorry.
There you go. You can't spell because you're
Right.
too.
We're gonna have to ban Nidimus.
Let's see. Let's get our thing together.
Anyway, the stream is not about me. Continue, Speed.
Not about you. Okay.
I was thinking of changing the name of it to the Andrew Cummings Show.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound catchy at all.
Well, no, I won't tell you that story.
Didn't tell.
Don't tell them.
You're too young. Yeah, you're too young. Wait till you're like 34. And I'll tell you that story.
I heard a great argument on one of Darth Darkin's videos. He's got some guy, he goes in, of course, the social media, they're bouncing all over with Clubhouse. There's all kinds of different rooms, just like Discord, right? It's got all kinds of rooms. So they're bouncing all over in different rooms. And there was this one guy, a Christian in one of the rooms, and he's buddies with Darth. And he was like, I can't figure you atheists out. How you think we came from monkeys? And, he was going on and on about that. And his argument was, when humans were born, who took care of the kids? Who took care of the babies? That was like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, babies just like poofed out of thin air, and there was no parents to take care of them, or
I think he's likely suggesting that if we came from monkeys somehow, there was one generation that was literally monkeys, then they
And
gave
what-
birth
right,
to humans,
and
and
then who took care of the human? Right.
Like-
That's how he pitches it. Or it
and
was
what's
just
worse is
amazing
their
how
creationists
stupid.
often think like that, like Kent Hovind's
Yeah.
dogs and non-dogs and whatnot.
Right.
Or
It's
a
amazing.
bird, or a bird coming from a hatched egg from a dinosaur, like in one generation. Like, it's nonsense.
Right. How can you even think like that? That just baffles me that somebody can even comprehend, or that, just have that train of thought. It's amazing.
And then what Sal Cordova said about the development of the mammary glands, about what the hell did he say? Something about the baby.
Something about sweating and then licking the sweat. The baby's drinking the sweat off the mother.
Something like that. Yeah, it was. And
That one, yeah.
and there was a tiny sliver of truth in all that, because it started out keeping eggs wet, keeping them moist and warm.
Yeah.
And
But there were a lot more stages than that in between.
Than that, right? They, like, the baby crawls down and starts licking. It's like, fuck, Sal. It's like, God, at least
make an effort to learn it right.
Yeah, make some effort. Okay, so I'm trying to put TopDawgs Picks in here in our description, but I lost it. I lost it.
Yeah, I guess their train of thought is it's like they have to try to somehow mix together their creationist thought process with the actual facts, and they mix them together, I guess, right? Or something like that. I don't know.
Well, the way I think about it is they have to try to almost kind of subconsciously twist the alternative to creationism such that they don't understand it, so they don't believe it. Kind of like what Aaron Ross says, in a sense.
Yeah.
TopDawgs Pick of the day.
Because if you really understand something and the evidence behind it, you're more likely to accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
So I wonder if I could abbreviate this. Let's see, this thing about lines and signs.
Ooh, that's a good analogy, Jerry. I like that, because languages evolve too.
I wonder if this is going to be too light.
We should use that language analogy more. I feel like it'd stick better. I don't know. Or just get the point across a little easier.
Oh, let's see. Why do I believe in evolution? Let me count the ways.
Well, language is a great example of unguided development, unguided, and we might as well use the word evolution, even though we're talking about a language system. So that's a great.
Maybe it doesn't
analogy.
evolve in the biological sense, but it does show descent with modification.
Right.
So Jason Torn finally got back to me, and I guess we are going to get together, and I'm going to talk to him about natural selection and Fodor.
Ooh.
Well, there you go.
Is this too bright? It's
a bit bright.
Looks like midnight.
Huh? Does it look like midnight?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, God, can I do this? I don't know if I can make sense, Andrew. No, I don't need a cat.
You don't need a
cat. The cat was going to climb on top of the iPad.
Why do you not want a cat? Cats are adorable.
Cats are adorable. Yeah. Well, I don't want a cat on top of my iPad.
The drawings have returned.
What is happening here? Something's going on. I don't know what's going on right now.
So when you're going to connect things, make a squiggly line to connect them.
So here, okay, so a line is like a legitimate transposon. Okay.
Wait, real quick, what happened to your other background?
I was using the white because I'm drawing something, because I'm working on something and I need it.
Oh, okay. Continue.
Too big a problem for you?
No,
Okay.
I was just curious.
Yep. So we have this, basically we have something that is going to cause this to transpose on the 5 UTR, 5 untrans, and we got an ORF and this thing. And I think in the ORF, there's the reverse transcriptase. Oh my God, I screwed that up. Just totally screwed that up. Just, God damn it, Orf. And then we got like, I don't know, some other garbage. And we got like envelope, which is a remnant, which we don't use anymore, or the line doesn't use. Oh, here's a reverse transcriptase. Reverse transcriptase is at the end. I forget what's in the, anyway. So this thing gets transcribed in the nucleus. Like it's in the nucleus, right? Where it gets transcribed and it gets exported out here into the cytoplasm, where it gets turned into some proteins, okay? And these proteins then go back into the nucleus and they reverse transcribe this entire thing into our genome. And that's how the gene jumps. So this thing will, what just happened now? I'm not sure what just happened. Okay, so lock. Can I lock this thing? I don't know how to lock it. Huh. Hang on a second.
They're basically copy-paste machines in miniature.
Yeah. Okay. But then a sign, okay, a sign has far less of this machinery, okay? I forget, let's see. So signs have like, they have like an A and a B, basically head, but they don't have, I don't believe they have a reverse transcriptase, and they don't have the envelope. And in fact, signs are not transposons at all. So a sign is basically something that came from our RNA, the 7SL part of this. I think it's part of the ribosome. So anyway, there was a piece of RNA that just so happened to have in it something that resembles what the line needs in order to transcribe. So a mutation in a human being stole the machinery from the line and ended up transcribing these signs and allowing them to jump. Okay, did I make that clear now? This does not start out as a transposon. It started out as a piece of mutated RNA that we need in order to, translate proteins.
But they're still classified as kind of like derived transposons, basically.
Right, because it just happened to end up with the right mutations, so that it had the recognition sequence inside of it that it could steal all of the line's thunder. So the line will create its proteins, the reverse transcriptase and a few other proteins that I think that are necessary. I'm going to get lost. So I'm trying to keep this at the top, right? They stole the line's thunder. So instead of the line using its machinery to transcribe itself, it's now transcribing this little hellion who stole its stuff because it had the right sequence for recognition. So anyway, so the idea is behind ERVs and how they protect us from viruses is that we have an ERV in our genome somewhere, and it has this recognition sequence in it. And if a virus comes in, a virus is also going to create its own reverse transcriptase, envelopes, and a bunch of other things. And the ERV is going to go and steal it, just like signs steal stuff from lines, right? So it's all competition. I mean, there are these complexes that are forming that are going to enable this reverse transcription or enable the production of a new virus particle.
Wait, is Fuzzrana saying this?
No, Fuzzrana is saying he is saying that God had to put an ERV in our genome in order to protect us from viruses. That's what Fuzzrana is saying, and that's what it says.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, let's think about it now. Why would God have to put something in Adam's genome to protect him from viruses when there were no viruses attacking Adam and Eve because the genome was perfect?
Right.
So why would we need our protection from viruses when there was no such thing as viruses attacking other things because there was no death? Elephants didn't even die. According to the
story, yeah. That's what the story says, right? Yeah.
But they they talk about it like they're biologists, and they're just running across the top, and they're giving you this line, and the average person is just going to buy that fucking line. Lines inside
is an absolute dipshit, don't you think? I mean, when you look at the whole picture, their God is an absolute dipshit. The way things are designed. It's terrible.
If he designed it, he designed it in. If he designed it, he designed it in such a contrived, intricate, complex pattern that I don't even know what he was trying to do with it.
Yeah.
Like maybe he, like some people say, he has some deeper plan for that just had to require all these intricate interactions within the genome of all these different genetic elements. But I don't see that as plausible or parsimonious at this point.
Yeah. Read the chat. Is God could see the future, could see the fall was going to happen.
Yeah, so they put these ERVs in so that why would he want to protect people from viruses? Just let them fucking die of them. It doesn't make any. And then even if you had to put something in to compete with viruses, you didn't need to put in the whole shebang, the whole ERV.
Right.
You didn't need
why did you put the whole thing?
Yeah. With all that power, why couldn't he just wipe out viruses?
Or just create a very small sequence that competed with the virus's genetic material or proteins and grabbed them up and used them. And it just doesn't make any sense. And I don't,
because the point is these sequences don't function except for viral purposes. Yet why are they there if they're not functioning for that? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, what's really cool.
Is that the real Danny in the chat? I don't know. Danny has so many accounts.
Hey, Danny.
He's saying
probably is.
Hi, Danny.
Hey, Danny.
I've watched a lot of your content lately, Danny. I've seen a bunch of it.
I'm going to invite that little bastard in here.
Chris's comment here.
I forgot it. Oh, it's
did a little mathematical twist to your sign speed.
We did. Oh, neat. Hang on a second. What did he do? What did he do?
He said I love sine and cosines. Ha ha.
Well, whenever you say line and sine, I always think trigonometry.
Right. It sounds so similar.
Gur's gonna destroy you on his stream tonight. Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
Well, Gur needs to come in here and try to give us a preview of the destruction.
Yeah, I want a little preview for sure.
Oh no, the Dannies are multiplying.
Oh, now he's multiplying. Yeah, is this account banned? Is this one banned? Is
God. There's too many accounts to ban anymore. I gave up. I just got tired.
We give up.
Well, he filled up my ban limit for YouTube. You can only ban, I think, 1.2 million people, and he used up all of them.
He's used all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, he used all of them up. It filled up the database. I don't know. Anyway. Yep. So it's the 7SL is a signal recognition particle that's used for other things in the genome, and it managed to steal the lines. And it's really cool how that evolved, because it's not a transposon itself. It just stole shit from real transposons. And now it's one of the few remaining transposons that are active in humans. It's ALUs are still active. So,
and ALUs are a type of sign, correct?
Right. And that one did not come from a virus from the outside of the organism. It came from within.
As far as I'm aware, ALUs make up a large portion of our genome, right?
11%, I think, isn't it? Or is it 11?
Well, I mean, it's still compared to the 2 or so % of protein coding genes. That's still a lot.
About 5 times as much.
Yeah.
So ALUs are pretty common.
Hey, what were you going to say, David?
You mentioned Fazrana. Was he wasn't on SFTs lately or recently, was he? No.
No, he's in SFT's book. His book.
Oh, he's in the book. Oh, okay.
He's in the book. Yeah.
Oh,
So he
okay.
mentions him. So
He did do a stream on junk DNA, but that was a while ago.
yeah.
Nothing too recent.
Yep.
Well, SFT and Praise are buddies now again. So
Okay.
the SFT's been on Praises lately.
Can I play
Yeah,
this Taylor, this PhD candidate?
Sure.
You know, and she this is her first debate, so she was probably nervous and like messing that way. But I was just kind of shocked. I think.
So I guess take it with a little grain of salt, but let's see what she has to say.
Just go to the gaps stuff. Did you listen to it? Did you listen to the debate?
Just
and
listen
did
to
you
her.
notice? Did you notice Mad Ducks didn't like Bailey said anything really? He didn't.
Yeah,
I mean, he did battle a little bit with Leo, but he let her do most of as far as like presenting arguments, and then he didn't really say a whole lot.
He brought out the big guns, the big guns, and
and
I was waiting for the big guns, and then I heard this. Just give it a listen. She's a little muted. Get unmuted. Oh, can we not hear it?
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, no, I can't either. And that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Ooh, cosmology.
So today we're going to be debating, does science give evidence for God? And I'm going to be arguing, yes, it does. So science in general is a pursuit of knowledge, and that is supposed to be unbiased, and there's supposed to be evidences and mathematical equations supporting whatever your explanation is for certain things in nature. So we have always wondered, where did we come from and how did we get here? And so there's many different areas of science to answer these questions. My specialty is cell biology, but there's also physics, chemistry, theology, and philosophy. So interestingly, philosophy and theology are not discounted from being scientific arguments.
Okay, hang on a second. Whoa.
Wait.
So the biggest questions have...
What? Did you hear that too?
Theology isn't science.
Well, she said that theology and philosophy are not discounted from giving scientific arguments. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Well, I guess what she could be saying is that in theology you can make statements about the world, and then somebody can apply the scientific method to test those statements to see if it,
which would be
true or likely false. But that can be same could be said of out of body. Well, I guess that's all theological, but same could be said of any other form of ascertaining knowledge. If you're psychic and you suddenly believe that black holes have
alternative medicine and whatnot,
spotted bunny-shaped offspring, you can use science to see if that's likely true or likely false.
Yeah, but that isn't what she said. So, interestingly, philosophy and theology are not discounted from being scientific arguments. So the biggest questions have yet to be answered by science. And then, let's listen to her.
Yet to be answered by science. The general public tends to believe that scientists have it all figured out, which is a large misconception.
Do they? Does the general public think we have cancer figured out? I don't know. I disagree.
Many of the biggest questions of the universe and how we got here, including how life arose, have yet to be answered. And in many cases, there is not even a working theory. And there are scientific explanations for these things that defy other science, making it non-scientific. And some of these things.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I'm hasty to say that just because it defies currently known science, therefore it's entirely non-scientific. It could just mean that what we knew beforehand was just an approximation of some deeper underlying law of reality.
Yeah, you have to set things up to see if they can be falsifiable,
Right.
and you set up an experiment to falsify it.
Because science is inherently about the method itself, not what we know as scientific truth or whatnot. Because
exactly.
Scientific truth changes.
And then one branch of science might bump up against another branch of science. That doesn't make it unscientific, and it makes it controversial.
But
Right.
I think she's directly talking about evolution when she says, and there are scientific explanation for these things that defy other science, making it non-scientific. So
well, to give like a counter argument, I could say that quantum physics doesn't jive well with the physics of general relativity. Does that make either of them non-scientific because they contradict each other?
Yep.
I just don't see the argument there.
Yeah, I still say the actual word to use is controversial rather than unscientific.
Right. Just an unresolved problem, basically.
For being a cell biologist, her grasp of abiogenesis is really bad too, as you'll see here if we listen for a minute.
Things arising naturally like life or the universe, the chances are just so astronomically low that you can almost discount them as even being a working theory. So, for example, as we learn more about science, the questions and the answers are actually becoming harder. So
Okay, that's the other thing I had a problem with. As we learn more about science, it's becoming harder. So this is the creationist flotsam, basically the splooge that creation has come up with, that the more we learn about biology, the less likely evolution is, right?
Yeah.
It's too hard.
It's too hard. It's just too complicated.
Who's been championing the "it's too hard" argument? It seems like we went through this a few months ago with somebody.
Is Danny trying to trigger you, Speed, or I don't know?
I can't tell if he's being sarcastic or not.
Did you invite him in? Did you actually invite him or no? Or were you joking?
Okay, Danny's a troll. He admits he trolls biologists and atheists, and he's a troll. So I mean, that's why Danny's always going to be a weenie around here.
That reminds me of Joel. He calls he calls everything. He calls atheism a religion, and he calls everything a religion. Yeah.
Yep.
And he was on Praises just recently too, so you would have loved to listen.
He was on Maddox's after show too. I think I spotted him, but I didn't have a chance.
He was over there too.
I didn't listen to it, but I usually go through and see who showed up. But and I know Joel was one of them.
Yeah, but I love it when he enters and he says, "Oh, you guys are talking about science. I love science," and then he starts talking about it, and you just
I happen to be
everything is cringe. Yeah, everything is cringe that he says. It's like really.
He invented semiconductors and worked in quantum physics and a bunch of other things and launched rockets.
Yep. I highly doubt that he invented semiconductors.
He said he claims that he was working on the invention of some chip, I think, at Texas Instruments back in, Texas Instruments created that little digital chip for the clock, and TI looked at it and said, "What the fuck are we going to do with this?" So they sold it to Japan. Did you ever hear that story?
No.
TI invented the digital clock on a chip, and I think and I could have this wrong, but I'm pretty sure I got this right. They looked at it and they thought nobody's ever going to want a digital clock, so they sold it to Japan. And Japan, of course, created digital watches. And TI kind of lost out. It was sort of a black mark on Texas Instruments. Anyway, what do you expect from Texans, right? Right, Scott?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. But listen to what she says about it.
Not funny, Speed.
Oh no, I thought it was funny.
It took me a second to get there, but get here and unmute. But yeah, not funny.
It was funny. Okay.
We get here, for example, abiogenesis. That was a theory of how life arose. At this point, we thought that cells were just balls of jelly, but now that we know that cells have very complex machinery, the question to how life arose naturally without any divine intervention are becoming harder and harder to answer.
Okay, so she's saying that like abiogenesis was a theory that we created like 50 years ago or 100 years ago when we thought cells were simpler, and that's how we created abiogenesis. But now that we know that cells are not simple, and I don't think we thought that even back in 1900, because they were looking at the endoplasmic reticulum and a bunch of other things.
I think at most, like the whole idea of a cell being basically a bag of jelly with some or something in it was like maybe Darwin's time.
Yeah.
Or maybe older, maybe or younger. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, she's a PhD candidate. Didn't you expect a little more from her than this? I don't know.
Answer. And then, so the universe, how did it get created? As we learn more about the universe, such as dark matter and dark energy, we look at the universe and see that it's actually speeding up, suggesting that this dark energy must be present, and that most of our universe actually consists of this dark matter and dark energy that we can't even observe. The mathematics are basically there to fill in the equation. So the more that we observe, the further away from the answers that we're getting by only using scientific explanations. So abiogenesis is the theory of how life arose.
Wait.
Yeah.
This sounds awfully like. Okay, so it seems like she's saying we had. Wait. Okay, let me just think about this. So she's saying we added dark matter and dark energy to a failing theory, basically because of theological considerations. I don't understand her point here.
No, I think she said we had the theory and then we found out about dark matter, and now it's all fucked up. Now we have to look to theology.
And that is obviously a ridiculous claim.
Yeah. I really expected more from her. I got to listen to the rest of the debate because she probably made more points. But
I mean, just the whole argument with dark matter and dark energy real quick is like, because I hear it at least sometimes, but like, oh, you add it kind of like epicycles added to geocentrism to keep the theory running basically when it was failing everything else, which isn't really true because dark matter is not based on cosmology. It's based on more astronomical observations, or at least those were the ones that made it worthy of consideration in the first place. So that's not inherently tied to Big Bang cosmology. It is true that dark energy is more cosmological in nature, but we do have we did have suggestions that it probably existed from the mathematics of general relativity and the fact that just we have independent lines of checking these things, and it's not that we're just adding them like it's often said fudge factors to keep the model running. I don't know. It drives me up the wall.
She gets back to abio here, I think. Sure.
Abiogenesis is basically a theory where the chemical components of life came together to form a living cell. And as I mentioned, this theory was created whenever we thought that cells were very simplistic balls of jelly, but now we know that they have extremely advanced machinery, some of the machinery being more advanced than, say, rocket ships. And some of the machinery is so effective that us humans are trying to mimic it for our everyday technology. And it's just better machinery that we can even create using technology.
Okay, I think I want to quit picking on it.
Did you notice, like, and she did this throughout the whole, I think the whole debate is she would kept bouncing back and forth. You know, she bounced from one subject to another, back and forth from, abiogenesis to the, the creation of the universe and this, and, she would bounce from topic to topic a lot.
Yeah. Did she ever actually did she ever actually say anything about cell biology or talk about anything any deeper than this bullshit?
No, this is pretty much it. What you're listening to now is pretty much the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, and this was the first time she had ever gone live on YouTube, I think. So we gotta cut her some slack. She was nervous, but
yeah.
But if she wrote that out, I don't know. For a PhD in cell biology, I would not give her good marks. I'm sorry. And this is John's big guns.
Did we happen to, or did she happen to make any other claims on cosmology?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I honestly, I can't remember what her whole stuff was, but it was all pretty much like what she was just saying. The whole thing.
Okay.
There wasn't anything in depth, really. It was all what you just heard, pretty much.
Oh, and then Maddox came on, and
yes, Maddox and Socks.
He came on, and when Maddox talks, sometimes I get so lost that I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
His explanations tend to get a little contrived at times.
They do. Okay, let's see.
James, and it's kind of interesting. As I was listening to Amy and Leo in their opening statement, they kind of did exactly kind of what I was predicting and what I was addressing in my very short opening statement, which was, you can't just look at this from a singular perspective when evidence is presented. You must look at it from the conglomerate. If you only look at it from a singular, then it's very easy to dismiss different pieces and say, hey, this is no evidence in favor for or against the position. Now, in relation to
okay, just pause there for a second.
Did you understand that?
No. Well. Wow. So it's pretty much what John just said is kind of counter against the creationist movement in general, because they like to cherry pick specific lines of evidence and say, oh, this is entirely against evolution and whatnot. Right. When, as John just said, we need to look at the big picture, the different lines of evidence together. So that's pretty ironic.
He does a really good job of basically talking about how ridiculous creation is. It might be right here. Let's see if this is it. So garbled.
I also want to acknowledge that Jason Torn is in the side chat. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jason. What's up? We're trying to schedule something.
Science can't do X. Well, the science could actually show that something isn't it's not rationally possible from a purely naturalistic perspective. If you're going to say that science only investigates...
Can science show that? I don't know.
I don't know what the hell he's saying.
I know. It's
this was my whole contention. Like, how can you show that something is not natural from a methodology that is inherently based in the natural world?
Right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. It's not built to do it.
Anyway, you need a decoder ring sometimes to follow John's logic. but at some point he goes on and he talks about how irrationality, and I swear he's talking about himself, talking about creation.
Well, it sounded like he was making an appeal for, like, it's not the individual arguments, it's the cumulative case.
Yeah.
Or something that people do.
Yeah.
But,
that's what he was trying to say.
And that's silly because there are so many points in favor of evolution that's just silly. And then you have creationism as the quote unquote foil. Well, that's mostly bullshit. That's an accumulation of bullshit.
Yeah.
So, what do you think Taylor is? Do you think she's a young Earth creationist?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
She strikes me as somebody who was raised in a strict biblical home, and she's just gotten. And somehow she made it through college and kept her belief. And I don't know what will become of that girl. I don't know.
Well, just remember, for every one cell biologist you find who's a creationist, you're going to find 100 more who aren't.
Oh God, I hold out hope, Andrew. I do.
Yeah.
Because I've been checking into how much it costs for SpaceX to launch me into space on a one-way ticket. Because I really, my thumbnail today made a little bit of a reference to what happened in Texas yesterday. And, it's like, please, people, just fucking stop. Just stop.
I hesitate to ask this, but what happened in Texas?
Oh, fuck.
Oh, my goodness.
There's a little town called Uvalde down near San Antonio.
Sandy Hook 2.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 19 kids were killed plus 2 teachers, something like that.
6 and 7 year olds.
Yeah, this was in an elementary school.
Yeah.
Wow.
If America doesn't get a little more intelligent, we're going to have to take all of our guns and sharp things away. We're not even going to be able to have standard screwdrivers or things that can poke you. It's just like, what the fuck, people?
Well, that's depressing.
Yeah, it made. I don't even want to talk about it. Okay.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
It was all kids too. It was just sad.
So out of the blue, I saw this earlier in chat, and I almost swallowed my cat. And I was petting my cat, and I almost swallowed my cat. Bubblegum Gun. Who the fuck is he? Bubblegum Gun.
One moment, real quick, to just kind of interject here in this conversation. I've never been in a position where if something went slightly wrong, I would swallow my dog. So how did you get in a position where you almost swallowed your cat?
Cats are much smaller and easier to swallow, and they're furrier. And I don't know, it's a lot easier to swallow a cat.
Okay, but I still have my eyebrows raised in wide wonder.
Well, we'll talk about it out off stream.
Okay, just wondering.
I'll explain it. Okay, so anyway, out of the blue, he asked this question, and it had nothing to do with the debate, but I just thought we'd listen to this. So
okay,
this one coming in from do appreciate your question. Bubblegum Gun says, Amy and Leo, are the Ernest Haeckel's fetus drawings bogus and wrong? Yes.
No.
And was Haeckel convicted of fraud? And do human fetuses have gill slits?
Yep.
He did mention that in the after show.
What in the fuck are they still talking about Haeckel? And okay, so there was never, apparently there's no evidence that he was ever called up in front of the authorities and questioned on this. There was some bullshit, that he made some drawings, and even if Haeckel was a complete fucking fraud, who would give a shit? Who the fuck cares? It was 200 years ago, for God's sake.
They seem to conflate embryology as a field with the drawings of Ernst Haeckel, which just astonishes me to no end.
And then he asked about gill slits. Well, we have pharyngeal ridges, basically, that some of them develop into our jaw and some develop into our inner ear.
Yeah.
And that's what they're talking about, these pharyngeal ridges.
Right. They're not actual gill slits, but they are homologous to them, which is the whole point.
Right. In order to be slits, there would have to be apoptosis, and that's what happens in fish, where they actually have little slits that form along the pharyngeal arches. But those pharyngeal arches are there in the fucking embryos of all mammals and all vertebrates, I believe. Yeah. And they develop into various parts of our face, and it shows you a wonderful evolutionary story. How some of the ridges develop into our jaw, some develop into our inner ear, and all the changes that happened, and how easy it is when you look at the embryology for you to get from gills and slits to jaws and ears. But anyway, that was just out of the fucking blue. And like, who gives a fuck about Haeckel and whether or not he was a fraud? It's
basically a tactic to they can call out Ernst Haeckel's fraud on these drawings, and therefore assume that they can dismiss the rest of the evidence that has nothing to do with him.
Well, look, wasn't Jesus Christ called up before the elders and judged and crucified? And so was he a fraud? Because he was called up and judged and crucified, right? Because he said he was the Messiah. So I mean, why should we? Isn't that the same thing? Even though
I guess he was being fraudulent in the scientific behavior context. Like he wasn't acting as we usually think scientists should act.
I don't think. Oh my God, I screwed up.
Google.
I don't think he was even doing that. Haeckel knew what he was doing. He just didn't have the photographs. He didn't. So he had to do the drawings to show what he was looking at, right? And if he got a few of the drawings wrong, I mean, who cares? Who cares? Haeckel did a lot more actually than just those drawings. Anyway, so.
Well, it's funny how we don't mention Haeckel's laws anymore. We've mentioned von Bayer's laws. Bayer's? I think I'm probably mispronouncing it, but.
So we have these two fakers in our side chat, Donny and Gerstreams, and they're going on and on and on, and they both have links to this show. So they have StreamYard links in their email, and yet they'll sit and chat and poke at us. Not enough nerve to come in.
Poke.
They like to do, especially that Ger.
Yeah.
Is his stream still poisonous? Are they still causing cancer? Because I haven't really been following along lately. Yeah.
Okay, like a lot of people have gotten the monkeypox from watching Ger streams.
Yep. That's going around now. Yep. I see there's a big outbreak in that now since Ger brought his streams back to life.
Yeah.
Does Jason have a link?
Jason
he says he has a latex fetish, and he should have been wearing latex, otherwise he keeps spreading it.
Yep.
Hey Jason, unless we have something else to talk about, but I wonder if he would have something to say on the whole, can science show evidence of God, or the debate topic the other day.
Yeah, Jason has a link.
So you're welcome, Jason, but unless you don't have the ability to join.
Jason doesn't check his email too often, I don't think.
Is that 4? Is that 4?
This is 4. Yeah. He's got the white nose. He's a good kitty.
I hear
black nose.
I hear him snoring about 10, 15 minutes ago. Was he snoring? I thought I heard snoring.
Loki's
that may have been my dog. I don't know.
Yeah,
my dog was snoring.
Loki has a broken fur motor, and he snores and does all kinds of weird noises. Thor's pretty quiet. So. Oh, I saw this wonderful YouTube channel called Owl Kitty, OWL, Owl Kitty, and it was Owl Kitty versus Godzilla and Owl Kitty Jurassic Park. And whoever does them does a wonderful job of editing in a cat in place of the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the Jurassic Park scene. And at one point they show the kitty on his back purring, and he's rolling the Jeep over the bridge, the classic Jurassic Park scene. And then the owl kitty attacks Godzilla. It was amazing.
There's a new Jurassic Park movie coming out, right? New one coming out? Yeah.
Oh, no.
Jurassic World Dominion, or whatever it's called.
Is it going to be as bad as some of the other sequels?
Well, supposedly they're going to throw in more realistic dinosaur designs.
Oh, good.
With like feathers and yeah.
They're going to do that? Yeah.
Is Jeff Goldblum going to be in it, or did he get eaten?
I think so.
Didn't he get eaten in one of the sequels?
No.
They should have eaten him.
Shit.
Well, hopefully he'll get eaten in this one. Anyway, it's kind of like those. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Or did you want to say something?
Not really.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of dinosaurs, has anyone heard of the new show on Apple TV Plus by David Attenborough, Prehistoric Planets, by any chance?
Oh yeah,
I've seen a few advertisements, and then people have mentioned seeing it and being impressed.
Yeah, it's well, I won't spoil it, but basically, yeah, the graphics are top notch. I'll say that at least. They're very realistic.
they did a good job.
Yeah.
Good.
It's like it's kind of like the original Planet Earth series, but with dinosaurs.
There's the trailer. Top Dog put the official trailer on the.
Oh, for Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I was told about it. I haven't seen it. Well, it's on YouTube. It's the YouTube link. So.
Danny is joined.
Look who's here.
It's Danny. Hey, Danny. What are you doing?
You're muted, or we can't
hear you.
He's muted as he should be.
Are you muting him?
No, I'm not muting him.
Is that any better?
That's a lot better.
Yeah, I was connected to the wrong mic. No, don't use the Scrunchy Discord email. I only get that at work. So
what the fuck is your other email? I don't know.
My Field Talk email. Here, I'll put it in the chat.
Put it chat.
This is the one that I use for my channel.
Okay, but okay, got it. I'll try to update my records. So.
You know when
Danny, I'm sorry to inform you, but Gur cannot philosophically hear you.
I don't know what that means. But the conversation I had with this Christian a couple days ago asked me, "Do you subscribe to the Darwinian philosophy?" And I was just like, "What is that? What even is that?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, survival of the fittest." Now, what would y'all say to that? What would y'all say to that?
I wouldn't even respond.
I don't think there is such a thing.
Yeah, the term or the phrase "survival of the fittest" is kind of iffy.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah.
At least evolutionary biologists wouldn't want to. They would think that's too simplistic or misleading or something like that.
I would look at my calendar and wonder if this was 1920 somehow.
Yeah. Anyways, no, we had a really brief conversation about abiogenesis and all that, but they really get off from saying, "No, we don't know about this puzzling scientific or naturalistic phenomena."
Was that latex guy? Was that one?
No, that was.
Or was this a different one?
This was a different guy. It was a black guy.
Yeah. I think it was the latex guy that you had. I saw that. Was that the one that ended up on Tom Rabbit's?
That was on a channel called Clubhouse Debates.
Oh, yeah, which is affiliate of Tom Rabbit.
Yeah, it's a friend of Tom's and I. And then there's this other one called. There are 3 channels that are that host different kinds of things. So that was one of the 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Danny, did you redesign your room by any chance? It looks different.
Yeah, I rearranged. I put my bookshelf back here. And
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, David.
Because my wife is starting to stream on Twitch. She started this week. So.
Oh, really? Violin or like music?
Violin stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So your channel is really doing well.
Yeah, decently.
Hey, can I interrupt real quick? I have one question about your wife's Twitch.
I just got your email.
I have one point of interest about your wife's Twitch. I thought I'd ask it now real quick. Does she play her violin for money?
Not yet. I mean,
as entertainment?
It's actually really easy to get monetized on Twitch. Super easy to get monetized on Twitch. But that's what she's working towards. I think you have to have there are 2 tiers of monetization, but I think she has to stream like 50 hours or no. What? Let me see. How to get monetized on Twitch. Let's see. Anyways, yeah, she hasn't gotten monetized yet, but she plans to. But it's just like a side thing because she changed careers. She's actually trying to start a jewelry business.
Ooh.
She kind of left behind violin because she hates teaching. She hates kids and teaching. So, but she doesn't want to give up the violin. So I suggested this. Well, you could just stream the violin, and that would kind of get you. You would always be doing violin stuff.
Quick, Danny, where does gold come from?
Gold?
Like, where does it originally come from?
God, right?
Cools up sun.
I guess you could say.
Nuclear furnaces.
Yeah. Has anyone heard of neutron star collisions?
Right.
I hate those.
To get monetized on Twitch, this is all you need: 50 followers, 500 minutes over broadcast over 30 days, 7 unique broadcast days, an average of 3 or more concurrent viewers. That's all you need to get monetized on Twitch.
Hey, I'm ending stream. I'm going over there.
Yeah.
Do they make money? Like, how much money do they make? Like, if you had a huge following, do you make the kind of money like people make on YouTube? Or
I think you might even make more. They got a lot.
Really?
It just depends. But here's one feature that makes a lot of Twitch streamers pretty successful. If you have a Amazon Prime membership, because remember, Amazon owns Twitch. If you have an Amazon Prime membership, you can, for free, subscribe to someone, and subscribing something different on Twitch. That just gives them like $4 a month, and I think Twitch takes a cut. I think they take like a 30% cut, like YouTube. But basically, you can give some content creator $2 or $3 a month without coming out of your own pocket, without it coming up from your own pocket, if you have a Prime membership. So that's an advantage there, I think, for a lot of content creators.
yeah,
Icarus speaks the truth here.
Hey, so Snake is Right is launching a new channel. Oh, shit. Sorry.
What was that?
That was his new channel trailer. It's
I
pretty.
thought it was
Wow.
weather. He's launching his own weather channel where everything sounds like.
Weather channel. Okay, we'll watch it. Okay, maybe it's too loud. Let's listen. Oh, I'm not showing it, am I?
no, and it's very loud.
My bad.
Loud.
Whoa.
Oh,
I like the music.
What the fuck? Hold on a minute. What is going on here?
So why would he be launching a new channel? What would the purpose of
It's
that?
a
Is it totally
debate
something
channel. It's a debate
Oh,
channel
okay.
where they follow some sort of modified rules.
I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't
Okay.
actually showing my screen. Hang on a second. Let me play it over. Anyway, it's a. Let's see. What does he say about it? Hang on a second. I'll read.
different? Debate Cafe, huh?
Yeah. Recently, my friend and I launched Debate Cafe, intended for Oxford-style hybrid debates, debate tournaments, regular discussions, platform hosting for smaller channels, and yeah. Anyway, so let's watch the trailer. I'll try to keep it.
oh, my.
Awesome.
See, when I think of a cafe, I think of something relaxing. So I'm like really stressed right now.
Yeah.
That is kind of.
If I come out of a cafe feeling stressed, I do not leave a tip. I'll just
Maybe
leave it there.
the debate is the caffeine in this case.
Okay, I'll put that in the description.
How was your first year of university, Andrew?
Oh, I'm not attending university yet.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were, for some reason, you were taking classes though, right?
Where are you going to state
Yeah,
college?
it's college right now, but not university quite yet.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm dumb. I know there is a distinction. I
Junior
thought that
college.
colleges make up a university, right?
No, it's a community college.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's not some bigger institution.
Does
I
that
think.
count? That's what I mean. I mean, it's just I think that I mean, the thing is that your credits are going to be just as
college credits toward
Yeah, I'm just using it to get general ed out of the way. So
I think that's what most people should do. You know, I think general ed requirements are a scam, absolute scam, because they keep you there for like an extra year, and I don't know. It's just like if you want to take them, you can take them and pay for the extra year. But if you think about it, if you only had to do the courses to get your
degree,
become an expert. Then it would take you, 2 or 3 years, right? But they want to keep you there 4 years because that's an extra $50K, right? I don't know.
Yeah, when I went to community college, I took all courses that applied to my degree. The only extra thing I took was English, and I think I might have dropped out of that right in the middle. But I took all of you can take a lot of classes that apply to your degree at community college, and you get them. They're cheaper, and you don't have to drive as far. So
no, I'm totally for doing community college first, then going to getting your 4-year degree, because that's just a way of not getting as scammed as you usually would.
Hello.
I apologize for this, but when I first read your name, I thought it said godless.
I mean, it's not inaccurate.
I know. It's just. That's how I first read it.
I was showing you your portrait earlier.
You were doing what?
Your portrait.
Your portrait.
Yeah. Funny.
I do a picture of you. Yeah.
No wonder people were talking over me. I was muted. No, I was going to say that I really earnestly believe that the government, the American people, should pay for at least the bachelor's degree, first 4 years of college, and then very cheap for your master's, very cheap for your PhD.
I mean, are you willing to do that, Scott?
Am I willing to? I would be more than willing to get a PhD.
No. I meant, are you willing to pay?
Yeah. I think our country needs an enema in terms of its priorities in the world and its duties towards its people. And if we live in a world where you can't really move beyond poverty or the lower middle class without an education, but then you can't turn around and get an education, then we're screwed.
I mean,
in my state, if you graduate high school with above, I think a 2.5, and if you make a 23 on the ACT, tuition's free for 4 years.
For 4? At Louisiana State College?
Any state university. And in fact, what they'll do is if you go to a private university, they would still give you the money for that scholarship. It's just not going to reach as high. But any public university, which includes, the LSU and whatnot, is free except room and board. Room and board is not free.
Right. Yeah, there was something like that in Arkansas when I was growing up for the ACT. But I don't think it was a 4-year thing. I think that maybe the first year you got free tuition, but there were a lot of other expenses too that we had to cover our own.
You see,
God damn it, go ahead.
Oh, hang on a second. In Europe, they have free university, but in the United States, we're pretty smart. We make sure that when they graduate, the fucking banks own them.
Yeah.
so that they can never get ahead, and that way we can control the intellectuals, right?
I mean, I wanted to add something to Scott. Like, he said that if people can't get an education, then then they're fucked. To put so many words. Thing is, right? Like, we have the internet nowadays. Like, yeah. You need to be careful. You need to be careful what information you find. But there are many free courses. There are many free courses. Like many free courses ran by ran by legitimate legitimate universities, right? So if people want to learn, the stuff is out there.
Well, on the other hand, education is important for being able to figure out the methods of how or what to trust online to begin with. So it doesn't.
And there'd be the paradox.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think education is only important if you have like goals that require that education.
I mean, basic education is important. Is it?
I don't know what that. Like, you're talking about like addition and multiplication, all that stuff. Like, what do you mean basic education?
Basic education, right? Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. What?
I forgot how to multiply.
Well, I just, one of my goals would be like that every child in the United States would grow up realizing that Canada has buildings. Just the basic awareness of other cultures and other worlds. I say other worlds.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean by basic. That's what I mean by basic education, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know all the answers. I can't even begin. I just know that if the younger generations decide to start,
I kind of agree with Jerry Penna here. Actually, if
what's
you look
Jerry
at
saying?
that, I mean, like, there's so much garbage in universities like that. I mean, it's just so. It's like. There's probably
but Danny, aren't you going for a philosophy degree?
Yeah.
So then,
I'm just saying that it's kind of weird that if I'm pursuing philosophy, that people are paying for my degree. I mean, maybe they should what makes more sense is if I become a teacher that I get loan forgiveness, that kind of stuff. That makes more sense. But for someone just to pay off my philosophy degree seems weirder. Seems like if you should do something with it, right? But the idea is that I think there's only a handful of bachelor's degrees that get you anywhere, right? And the rest of them, I don't know. If I'm not an advocate, I mean, I think I lean towards public funding, but let's just work with me here. If all the funding came privately, they would take someone like me and say, what is your estimated salary from this degree you're getting? And if I put unknown or 20K or whatever projected, right, it just seems like a no-brainer not to invest in me, right? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm Brett. I have no real ideas about how to change the system. I just know if we don't, it's just not going to be good.
Yeah, there's kind of my great niece just went through this, and she's got all kinds of debt, that she has to. I mean, it seems kind of crazy. I don't know. We paid as we went back when, in my day. If you couldn't afford it, you didn't go to school, But credits were like what?
Yeah, credits were a lot cheaper.
$20 or something, or it was like ridiculous. Now it's like $1,200 a credit.
And there were a lot more people going through the system, like under the GI Bill and things like that as well.
Well, I think since they went to student loans and they basically gave the ability to pay a ridiculous amount of money for them, and then they just raised the prices.
That's what seemed. It's like what I think there's a story here. I think that it's a multifaceted scam. The government, the banks, and the universities, right? Like they're all benefit. I mean,
at least we can agree on that.
And the only loser is the person with the degree. And if you're not a doctor and you can't pay it off right away, and even doctors have a hell of a road to climb through their, internship and all of that. It's pretty amazing. I don't know. But, in Minnesota here, I can go for $12 a credit right now.
But what's interesting is
loans
that
being excluded from a bankruptcy is mind-boggling too.
if you have federal student loans, if you work a government job, that includes being a doctor for some public, university, teaching university or whatever, or being a teacher like I am, whatever debt you have after 10 years is forgiven. But that's 10 years that you have to sell your soul to the government.
Yeah. Yep.
Andrew, have you made a decision?
I'm sorry, what, David?
I was wanting to ask Andrew if he's made a decision on what career, what field he's going to pursue.
Maybe not the moment yet. I'm still kind of trying out different gleanings.
Yeah.
Sorry to disappoint you there.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. Take your time, of course.
Physics is just witchcraft. Don't go into physics.
Yeah, you might as well just
a non-physicist.
It's just bullshit. Dark matter, bullshit.
You're bullshit.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So I guess while Danny's here, I'd like to discuss a topic with him, if that's okay with everyone else.
No.
Topics? Do we do topics here?
I hope it's the one that I would suggest. Go ahead.
Okay. So Danny, did you happen to see the debate with Maddox? And well, I didn't see it, but I heard naturalism of the gaps brought up in response to like a God of the gaps kind of thing. I guess I don't know if we've already discussed this, but I
hate that argument. Naturalism of the gaps. What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to hear your thoughts first and foremost, Danny, on that kind of
about naturalism of the gaps.
Yeah, just that kind of comeback in general.
Yeah, I think that if you have a reason to rule out a non-natural explanation, and then, I don't know how that might look like. You could frame it in different ways.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, the dichotomy between natural and non-natural is very, very. It's not pinned down at all.
Right.
Even in philosophy, there's like huge debates about what is a natural thing versus a non-natural thing. People mean very different things. But given that, if we're just kind of working with like this thing is natural, or that rock is natural,
the general concept of it.
I think that what you can do is think about basically rule out, hey, a non-natural explanation. Well, we're just kind of ruling it out for these considerations, but we're still looking for a naturalistic explanation, but we don't know what it is. Because you've ruled out a non-natural explanation for some set of criteria or some set of reasons, it's no longer a kind of the gaps problem, right? What creates the God of the gaps, or what it blank of the gaps, what creates that problem is when you, for no reason at all, think that there's a naturalistic explanation rather than a non-naturalistic explanation, or vice versa. That's the idea of an ad hoc explanation, is that you give an explanation, but you just have no reason for why you are accepting that explanation. There's no independent justification for that explanation over another. So
the whole God did it thing is kind of a gappy concept to begin with, because you just say God did it, right? There's no mechanism, or there's nothing in between. Like God can pretty much do anything.
Yeah, so that's a consideration that would rule out. Look, so we're not looking for a divine explanation, right? So because of what you said, because the idea is that God can do anything, and there's nothing to falsify the hypothesis. So that's a reason to rule that out. So then, when you're saying there's some naturalistic explanation, but I'm not so sure what it is not a naturalism of the gaps, because you have independent justification for accepting some unknown naturalistic explanation rather than a non-natural explanation like God.
I also see it as
Andrew, during that debate, Amy was hammering Maddox and Taylor on that exact thing, is trying to get them to come up, or what Steve mentioned is trying to say, I'd like to know the mechanism. How did God do it? And they wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
Right.
She hammered them several times during that.
Oh, she did great.
I think there are ways to respond to Amy, though, because no matter what view you take, whether naturalistic, non-naturalistic, there's going to be some kind of explanation that bottoms out, at which point it no longer makes sense to ask what is the mechanism. In other words, right? And for theists, it bottoms out at God had this intention, and then some set of physical states followed, and that's the end.
That's a non-Tangelo answer right there.
Yeah, but I think naturalists are going to find themselves in a similar position just with respect to that, because there are going to be these events, these physical events that are causally connected, and if you look at two events that are immediate to each other, where there's a causal connection, there's not going to be any more events in between them as to be able to yield a mechanism by which they interact, right? So, he could have said that, but the point is that what the point. I mean, I don't know. I guess I think the point there is that we can say that at some point there is no further explanation. They're dissatisfied with that, but they have the same issue that at some point there's not going to be a further explanation.
Yep.
I would also say, just to add on to what you said earlier, I don't think it's contradictory at all in terms of a methodological naturalism type position, when you can say we're not inherently assuming that there is no world, for lack of a better word, where there is spiritual or divine or supernatural forces at play. What we're saying is that what we are connected with, we are assuming that has a natural explanation there, or that we're acting as if, or investigating as if there is some ultimate explanation there that we can understand. I don't think
there's that, but also the idea is, I think you've said this too, just in the last hour, you've said that the scientific methodology is for a particular type of explanation. So it's a category error to say that such a methodology can verify any kind of explanation outside of that.
Right.
So I think you've said that before, and that's good. And that
because just based on the axioms on which it is founded, it cannot investigate all possible explanations.
Right. Yeah.
Or just putting it in that simplistic way. I know I'm not being terribly accurate with my philosophical terminology here.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
And the idea,
like, go ahead.
With a naturalistic gap is that there's always a way to fill in details in between, right? And I don't think there's ever a point where you would stop filling in the details in between, and that at any point it's subject to revision.
Right. So, that's the thing I kind of take from it when they say naturalism of the gaps. They're suggesting that when we have a problem and we are assuming that there is some ultimate explanation out there that we can comprehend naturalistically, then why not apply that to any other problems that we have in reality right now that are scientific? Like, why not apply that to whenever your car breaks down, basically? Like, this is inherently the problem with assuming that the world does not work naturalistically, at least at some level.
I also think that I bracketed this issue, but there is, depending on how you define natural, there's going to be a pretty big. I think it would be smart, I think, for someone to say, look, I'm kind of skeptical of this distinction between natural and non-natural. Like, I don't really know, because some ways that we can define natural is in terms, and some philosophers do this, is that a naturalistic explanation is one that doesn't carry an intentional explanation.
Okay.
So when you're doing science, you're not looking for a desire or belief state that explains the phenomenon. But what that does is that it rules out lots of sort of lines of inquiry as being scientific. But yeah, if you really look at, I think everyone should think to themselves when they're talking about naturalism of the gaps, whatever, is like, what is it in their mind that's distinguishing these two types of explanations? And I think that's going to be somewhat of a problem on both sides.
I think usually what it is supernatural is most often the first thing people think of is things that humans can imagine and make happen by their imagination. Like I can imagine a table and I can go out in my garage and build that table, and that would be the natural explanation. But it's this idea that you can imagine something and make it happen. So magic is usually
or non-natural.
Supernatural. Supernatural is usually has something to do with something that humans can imagine and make happen. So it involves like human things with minds, right? Agency, things with agency. That's typically what we mean by supernatural. Like
human agency?
Yeah, I think human agency, supernatural. The concept is filthy with human agency. Like when we think of something supernatural, we'll think of a ghost.
Like
and a ghost
God,
obviously has a will and whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's the thing that kills it. And what I try to do is imagine a supernatural that doesn't have anything to do with that. And the only thing I can imagine is if there were a locality in the universe where all the laws of physics broke down and you stepped into it and all of a sudden everything just fuzzed out, atoms no longer worked, everything
even in that context, like you'd have to obey the law of space because it's inherently at a point in space.
Well, even that, I mean, even space could disappear for this locality, right? Space and time itself. So, I mean, that would be like the weirdest thing ever. If you take enough mushrooms, something like that kind of happens. But anyway, that's as close as you get to it. But I was trying to imagine a non-agency form of the supernatural. Like, and you never hear people talk about anything like that.
Yeah.
Everything just suddenly everything quits making sense in this locality, right? Like from outside of it, if you're looking at, like if I'm looking at my bathroom from the outside, I think of it in terms of space and time. But say I step in there and space and time no longer works. Maybe there's like extra dimensions or no dimensions or whatever.
Or you've entered the Twilight Zone.
You've entered the Twilight Zone, right?
Well, so, this is, I guess, what I try and the way I come at it is I'm based on the methodology itself, the way of investigating the problem itself, and what that methodology inherently relies on. So for science, I envision it as relying on typically testability, observation, those kinds of things. But I can imagine methodologies that, at least in some sense, don't rely on those things. And I think that, kind of like what Danny was saying, going over this distinction between natural and supernatural is sort of ill-defined, the terms at least. So maybe it would be better to say, well, can we investigate this thing or not? If we can't, then we can't investigate it. And that's tautological, but it's not incorrect.
That's the thing about the natural gap, right? Is that it is findable. It's something that we can investigate. It's reachable. So we can reach that particular kind of an explanation. Whereas for supernatural, there's no way to reach it. And that would be the difference. And that's why I'd say it's not really a gap at all. It's just a filler, right? A filler in space that we're going to fill in. Because in principle,
it's just a problem that we haven't solved yet.
Anyway. Randolph.
Hey, Randolph.
And by the way, I didn't watch the debate. Go ahead, Randolph. Sorry.
Oh, I'm just responding. Go ahead, Danny.
No, really quick question. I didn't watch the debate, all of it, but did anyone lose their temper? It seemed like Maddox didn't lose his temper because
I don't think so.
I think it was because he didn't want Taylor to have a bad experience.
He just got a little huffy, but that was about it. Yeah, with Leo, they had a little back and forth. But
during the Q&A, he started getting annoyed with some of the questions that came up.
That too. Yeah.
Did Leo lose his did Lee? Sometimes Leo loses it. Did he lose it?
No, he was very calm.
He lost it on
Leo
the
did great
heckle
as
thing
well.
a little bit.
Leo and Amy made a great team.
Yeah, because Amy kind of calms things down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Leo gets excited, so.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, Tangelo's here.
There you go.
I like how his first comment is about abiogenesis again. Like, what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
If you feed it with beta amino acids, it cannot polymerize it. The amino acid set and the ribosome had to be made together. Oh my God. Oh well, I'm not gonna let that one go.
So, Randolph, how are you doing?
Yeah, quit trolling, Angela.
Putting in some electrical yesterday in the new lean-to. I've got more to do today.
Yeah, when is your studio going to be done?
As soon as possible, but I have to be a little bit thrifty, so to speak, because of expenses. I have to make sure that I don't overspend on things. So,
like you've gotten so much done, but so much still left to do.
Yeah, time is the other factor because I have to work because I've got a mortgage to pay. So.
Yeah, that's what those do-it-yourself type projects are. They become these stone, millstones around your neck because you just can't ever get them done.
Oh yeah. So I'm actually working right now while we're talking, but I'm planning to get out there later today and get some more of the electrical installed. I've already got a couple of big LED panels on the ceiling, and they're hooked up to a dimmer switch. It works great. So.
Yeah, that's happening to me with my yard work, my choke cherry project. I was thinking about building a dog kennel around them to keep the birds out.
Oh.
But I'm going with a cheaper solution. We're going to use fences and bird netting. It's a real battle. I'm also building a new path. I call it the Southwest Path into the river valley.
How's that going?
I built one path and got it all the way down, but you got to walk down it with a stick because it's like a 45-degree angle.
Sounds like you need to build stairs.
Well, yeah, that would be very difficult. And I think the city would probably fine us heavily for building stairs. My son asked about that yesterday. Couldn't we just build a wooden stairway down there? It's like, well, I don't think so, but maybe. I don't
know what? Go to the city and find out what would be required to get a permit for that.
Yeah, well, there's a big sign in our, like right outside our yard that says no human being is allowed to walk on this stuff. So basically, it's one of those restricted parks, and I built a path through it. I don't know.
Okay, guys, I gotta go. Thanks for having me on Speed.
See you, Danny. Nice talking.
Take care, Danny.
See you later there, Danny.
Oh no, where'd Speed go?
Danny just took him out. Speed, where are you?
I guess, while we're waiting for him to come back, and sorry to bring this back to Otangelo, but I'm curious to see what he thinks, if anything, about the evidence for common descent from ERVs. Going back to that from earlier.
There it is. So what you do is you wait a year, and then you go to the city for a permit about it, and then that way it doesn't look like a new trail.
Yeah, right.
I've always been here. Yeah.
Well, we got a buckthorn problem out here, and yesterday I heard this bulldozer down in the valley, and they're running around cutting buckthorn everywhere with this giant lawnmower, basically. And so they're doing a lot of, but they're trying to bring back the original prairie that was here. So back when Native Americans camped on the river valley here, it was all prairie with just a few oak trees and stuff. And they're trying to bring some of that back. So, but we got a buckthorn problem. I don't know if you know what that shit is. It grows about 3 feet in a month. And it's a bush, right?
It's like a weed.
And it's just taking over everything in our forest. And it's just thicker than hell. So
Morning Glory does that too.
They've been working on that. But anyway, I'm building a new path. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I kill myself building this one. I tried to kill myself building the the last one.
You could go like back and forth, and like that street in San Francisco, and then it's not straight up. It might be safer.
That's what this path. That is the benefit of this path. It's going to be a back and forth path. The other one had to be straight down. There was no other way to go. It was
okay.
It was a creek valley basically, and there was no other way to go. So anyway, I'm working.
That might not last as long as the new one serves well. I guess
we'll see how it works out.
You can always plant some buckthorn on it.
Yep. So we've got a flood going on in the Minnesota River.
Oh no!
It covered all of our pathways, and there's one path I walked on yesterday, and I was looking across the woods, and it was like this giant river, and you could see the Minnesota River off in the distance, and it was all part of the river. And it's just and the water keeps coming up. Now they claim it's going to start going down again, but then it rained like hell today, so we'll see. But it's the weirdest thing we haven't
hold
had
on.
here.
Did this flood deposit sequenced layers of rock and sediment by any chance?
Oh yeah, and it sorted all the animals so that the raccoons are in one layer and the birds are in the other layer. The fossils.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, yep, it did all that. But we have an amazing weather pattern that's very different than anything we've had before. You always get the snow melt, and then you get a flood in the Minnesota River Valley. But now this year we had not enough snow, so we had so the water levels were low. But they've been coming up ever since, and they don't normally do that. They normally go the other way. So we're getting something is going on that's different. I've never seen it before. It's really fun to watch the climate these days. I mean, it's going to do really exciting things, the climate. I mean, it's going to be like better than Netflix, watching what happens in the next 20 years or whatever. I don't know.
Speaking of streaming and all that, has anybody else besides me and Speed seen the George Carlin's American Dream documentary?
Yep.
Nope.
That was everybody just needs to watch it. It's long, but it tracks his life, and it's really interesting to see how his thought developed over time.
Yeah.
And what really got me was they showed him closing out a show at the very end of the second part, where he just developed this very mature cosmological outlook that I think was kind of the basis of what his spirituality was like. And I use that in a very loose way towards the end of his life. And it was just really fascinating, and just it was inspiring. You know, I was just really encouraged.
Was that where he said the earth isn't fucked, we are?
Well, but even beyond that, he seemed to be hooking it to a greater view of what's out there in the universe and how grand it is.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go back and listen to it again just to see the spots that really got to me. But
he was an incredible genius.
Yeah, and I never really appreciated it. I always loved his comedy, and I always knew he was a smart guy. But you know, there's people that who was it? There was a guy that kind of looked at Piaget's steps of human development, and kind of created steps of spiritual development that was not just Christian. It wasn't just Islam or anything like that, but he applied it as case studies to different people, and it's almost like he was following and applying it to George Carlin's life. It was just really interesting to see how much the man grew.
Can I ask you, where did you watch that on? What was that on? What?
HBO Max.
HBO Max. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 4 hours long, and it's the most in-depth documentary I've ever seen on a comedian. And it goes through. It gives you a really good sense of the man and what he dealt with at the end of his life. I'm pretty sure he knew that he didn't have long to live for the last 10 years because of the heart problems he had. He was in and out of the hospital all the time, and he didn't talk about it a lot, but he had a lot of heart attacks and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
It's like it grew from showing that damned old man of his. That's kind of what it seemed to me to be like he overcoming all the shit his dad told him, to becoming your authentic self, like when he crossed from being the suit and tie comedian on all this standard societally approved corporate media outlets to the hippy dippy guy, with the long hair and the beard, and then he went through this really angry phase, and whereas he was really disillusioned with humanity. He thought, though, he loved individual people, but kind of like a lot of us are, seeing humanity sometimes as a wasted cause. And then, he developed this grander view of things.
And then
it's just interesting to see
the love story between him and his wife for 37 years. And she was a raging alcoholic, and then she sobered up and became really active in helping other people. And then he had a cocaine problem, and then he got over that. And it was just, a lot of elements, kind of a real American life, like a full American life, going through all those phases. And it's pretty amazing. But
speaking of TV shows, has anyone watched or heard of the History Channel show, The Food That Built America?
No.
The
food? Bread?
Yeah, no, it's a TV series.
Oh, the food?
They go over kind of different American foods and how they came to be from entrepreneurs and whatnot.
Oh,
it's pretty interesting, actually.
What channel is it on?
History Channel.
History? Oh,
you can find it on Amazon, probably.
Okay. Yep. The History Channel and the didn't they used to have a science channel, like the Discovery Channel or something?
Yeah, they've kind of.
And they all went to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
It's like
from the glory days.
Well, the History Channel has like a second channel, or a channel where they still have the good stuff, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. They have like 2 or 3 different channels, and there's one where they reserve for the good stuff, and then the rest of it is like off-road truckers and bullshit like that, or ice truckers, or whatever the hell it is.
Or conspiracy crap.
Fucking people are into
UFOs, aliens.
Yeah, all the crap.
Yeah, I know for a while there, even early on, when you would turn to History Channel, you would think that there was no history before World War II.
Yeah,
because they showed so many World War II related documentaries, because there were just so many. But yeah, it was almost. But yeah, it's sad what they became.
I was fascinated with that. Anyway, guys, we got a shooter in the head. We're coming up on 2 hours.
Okay.
So Randolph, you had another amazing stream this weekend. Was it a Fortnite? Whatever the fuck that is.
It's coming up
this week.
Coming up this week. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah, and I was just on on Tang with Oz and Jena chopping it up last night.
Oh, you were?
We expected to be an hour. It turned about an hour and 2 hours and a quarter. So we had some good conversation. Reviewing the fortnightly stream is a big part of it. They were asking a lot of questions about it, so I was talking a bit about that. And then we got into talking about how to make the world better and attitudes people can have toward that. And basically, I'm talking about an idea I have that I think it's not a new idea. I think others have had this idea before me, but it's to me, I think what would help to make the world a better place in the long run is if everybody had kind of started off with above neutral level of respect for every single conscious being alive, every person, and then there may be things you dislike. Some people deserve more or less respect, but if we start with that, just for being conscious, that a little bit of respect can be granted. I think it's a great place for everybody to start conversations and move ahead. So I'm trying to encourage this kind of thinking, because I think in the long run with this kind of thing, if it's a small amount like this that everybody does, the whole world can benefit. So unfortunately, there are people who don't do this. But if more people did, then I think we could all really make a difference in the world. So very basic, simple kind of things like that. But and Oz, of course, was taking issue with one of the guests that was that came and joined us on the stage to present his ideas, and so we're reviewing a portion of one of the videos from, I think, our first show in February. So it was a good conversation. It was I really liked Oz is raising an important question too, I think, about platforming people, and of course I was tempering this with my concerns for censorship, because I think censorship can be problematic. So it's kind of a nuanced thing. Of course, what's the best approach to use? And I'm glad he's raising that issue, because if more people are thinking about what they're doing with these streams and who they're presenting and how, I think that can hopefully result in better quality content and better attitudes toward things in life. So
was that the let's say the ozone DJ shit or whatever?
Chopping it up. And actually, if you go to my channel, I'll share a link to the video. Just give me a sec here, I'll find it. And, that'll
while you're doing that, I just love Gramadia's comment here. So subtle of a jibe.
I just want
to hang on, give me a sec. I'm just getting the video link here first.
Chopping it up with got it. I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I will link that in the description, but I thought a way that we might make the United States better, and I just want to throw this out there. I don't think I want to discuss it any further, but maybe not let 18-year-olds on their birthday go and buy 2 guns without asking questions about their mental health, because that's what happened in Texas on his 18th birthday.
I heard a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I'm not clear on what happened there. It sounds like a shooting. I saw another news announcement last night on Twitter saying that there's a late night shooting in Texas as well. It's like, what the heck's going on? So
somebody killed 19, 6, and 7-year-old children in a school, and so we have a Sandy Hook 2 basically going on.
Oh no!
And he bought the 2 guns on his 18th birthday, I guess. And I don't even know if he was old enough to drink yet. Scott, can you drink in Texas when you're 18?
Not legally.
Okay. Yeah.
But he killed his grandmother first, and then went into some classroom or something, barricaded himself in, and started shooting.
Yeah. Now, his grandfather claimed that he was a felon, but I don't know how that's possible. Like,
if he's a juvenile?
Yeah, maybe it was sealed as a juvenile. Right. Obviously, he would have committed that crime as a juvenile, because he
shouldn't have been able to buy a gun.
Right. That was his grandfather told the news that. So maybe it was sealed in juvenile, and they didn't get access to that, so he was able to buy it. I don't know. That's the part that I heard. So,
I hope things change with future generations there. I don't see it changing now, but in future generations, hopefully people will just say, no, you need to have licensing and registration requirements before you can own this stuff. And then that'll, I think,
some mental health work, maybe. I don't know. It's
that'd be part of it. See, here we have the Firearms Act, and if you're going to get a slingshot over certain power or bulletproof armor, or you have a gun, those kinds of things, you have to have a firearms license for any kind of firearms. So those, to get that, there's a bunch of different things you have to qualify for before you can become licensed just to own or possess those things. So part of that is background checks, and I think there's some psychological evaluation. I'm not quite sure how that's done, but there's a number of different hurdles people have to go past, get past first.
Today, all you have to do to eliminate at least half of the nuts is go to their Facebook page and read down, and right there, I mean, that amount of that level of scrutiny would disqualify a lot of people from owning firearms if we had the proper laws in place. And I'm just a self-described gun nut, right?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, fuck it. If we're this fucked up, maybe we shouldn't have guns. I mean, Jesus.
So I think a licensing model would work really well, because then the people who aren't going to go crazy with them are the ones who can have a better chance of getting them. I know that there's a big lobbying effort against anything like that, and that's what you're dealing with, is lawmakers and politicians that are
yeah, and
making it too easy.
there's actually, like in the States, there's actually two problems. Anytime they try to pass a reasonable gun legislation, the basically, God, I hate to say it, the far left comes in and adds on a whole bunch of other bullshit, right? So we can't pass anything because they load any bill up with a bunch of shit. And
Turn into an omnibus bill.
yeah, and it's just, if they would just have a couple of common sense fucking ideas and just try to pass those alone without adding a lot of stuff. But I suppose they kind of do that because they have this negotiation process in Congress where I'll give this up if you give that up and all that bullshit.
It's too polarized, and that's why you run into all these problems.
They have to check. They have to check with their corporate lobbyist sponsors before they do anything.
That's the other part of this fucking country.
And who's one of the biggest lobbyists in Capitol Hill?
I don't know.
There are a few angry people here in Canada who are just hopping mad because they were refused a license to own a firearm. And I'm thinking, the anger that they express is pretty hopping mad.
Right.
I'm actually thinking
that's why they shouldn't have a gun.
I'm thinking the process works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because these are the people I feel like they're not really stable. They don't seem to be mentally stable. And so I'm thinking, this seems like the right decision to not grant them that access. So.
Did you see the chat on that we were talking about the drinking age? And the comments in chat there, that one of them was in Germany, 16 years old to buy beer and 18 to purchase hard liquor. And then another comment in the chat was Sweden, 18 years old to drink in a bar, but you have to be 20 to buy liquor in a store.
Yeah.
Because the latter is unsupervised. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
I wouldn't describe a bar as supervised.
Well, here maybe it's different in the U.S. Here, there's regulations for people who run establishments. They have to get licensed to serve alcohol and liquor, and then part of that, they have to have some requirement on basic training on how to make sure people aren't going over their limits, like in a reasonable way.
I think they might do that here too.
Yeah,
they have that all here, but nobody follows it. They just
It's basically somebody can come back somebody can come back and sue you if you get out of a bar drunk and then and go kill somebody with your car. So, but how much are you willing to risk it?
It's sad that it's not enforced there. Here, it's actively enforced, and from time to time we see a restaurant that's lost their liquor license, and part of it they have to have a notice on the door explaining why they lost it, because they violated this procedure and they're losing it for a period of 1 year or however long. And if that sign doesn't get maintained, then the period can be extended. So
my dad frequently got denied. Basically thrown out of a bar because he was too drunk to drink anymore. And one of the times that he was thrown out of a bar, he left the bar with his brother and ended up killing him in a fatal car wreck. So
yeah, it's terrible. And this comment here is right on. Stupid Monkey Philosophy saying some bartenders are better than others. In a perfect world, yeah, I agree with that. There are people who are better at their job than others, and there can be a lot. There can be sudden large number of people are suddenly ordering drinks. How do you keep track of them all? So it's also kind of judging how they are. Like somebody comes into an establishment and you can smell alcohol in their breath, and they seem to be kind of tipsy, all right, you're probably not going to want to serve them alcohol because they've obviously had enough before they got there. These kinds of things are part of the basic training here on this. But again, it's a pretty subjective thing. It does prevent most, but it doesn't solve every case, right? So
say I wanna end the stream. So
Gur's gonna open bar and grill.
What's that?
Gur's gonna open a bar and grill. Gur's bar and grill, he says.
Oh, great! Yeah.
Are you gonna be the waitress? Are you gonna be the waitress, Gur? Or?
I want to open a burger shop named Wanda Burger. I don't know.
Wanda Burger and the bar and grill. Okay.
Yeah, Gur.
Wanda
should be.
I like that.
Gur should be a topless waitress.
Okay, guys, we're gonna.
I like that he puts all the letter R's in there. Sorry, go ahead. You got to end this.
We're gonna shoot her in the head. Well, so goodbye, cruel world.
Bye.